Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
Good
Farhan?
evening. So I can start.
Hmm.
Sir, I can start the.
Yes, Aditi, please.
Good evening to everyone present here today. I, Aditi Jaiswal from BBA, would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone in this expert talks organization by Circular Economy Study Group, BIT off campus Lalpur. Today, in this event, we have invited a special guest who was very kind enough to accept our invitation despite having a busy schedule, Miss Reema Banerjee, ma'am. Ma'am will be talking on the topic circularity in healthcare waste management, which is very pertinent concern and needs proper attention by all the stakeholders, including the government. Moreover, COVID-19 pandemic and its consequent healthcare waste is an unprecedented challenge worldwide. A special welcome to our director, Dr. Vandana Bhattacharjee ma'am, who has been kind enough to support our endeavor towards circular economy. Welcome to all the esteemed faculty members, other guests, and my dear friends. Our special guest, Reema Banerjee ma'am, is currently heading the Eastern region of Center for Environment Education, a non-profit organization established in 1884 as Center of Excellence in Environment Education by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. Ms. Banerjee has over 2 decades of experience in strategy planning and management of projects on education for sustainable development, climate change, waste management, air pollution, and biodiversity conservation across various cities of India. A seasoned and experienced leader on the circular economy trained as global leader by Green Industries, South Australia at Adelaide. She is dynamic member of the Active Citizen Network of British Council and is also trained policy advocate on education for sustainable development in Asia Southeast Asia Pacific by Asia South Pacific Association for basic and adult education. She has been involved in implementation and management of projects on environmental health and climate change resilience integrating the circular economy concepts with focus on biomedical waste, plastic waste management, temple waste management and integration of informal sector. She is also leading the capacity building team for training the master trainers of 125 urban local body of West Bengal on International Electrotechnical Commission for Solid Waste Management. She has authored many technical reports, training manuals, and International Electrotechnical Commission materials embedding the practical learning from the various initiatives taken by her in the field of sustainability. I am immensely convinced that her expertise, which she will share with us, will add value to our knowledge base and will assist us in rethinking waste in order to better manage healthcare waste. Over to you, ma'am, to take up the talk further.
Thank you so much, Aditi. And first of all, I would like to extend my thanks for this, wonderful introduction that you gave. And I think it summarized my entire experience of last 2 decades in this field. I also thanks Professor Ashutosh Mishra for giving me this opportunity to share some of my views, because 1 hour is very less for this particular topic. But I would like to share some of very important views looking at your, circular economy study group, as well as, the technological background that you people are, the scope that you people have in this field to create more awareness on this, and as well as get into the implementation part of embedded circular economy or circularity in healthcare based management. So I'll just take a minute to present my slide, and I'll share my slides. These slides, I would like to also interact with few of you in between the slides, because just to make understand that I am at the same platform or at the same level and you are understanding what I'm showing. So it's very simple talk, but having a very complexity when we really get into this particular topic. So for good bandwidth, I would, close my video and I'll share my, is it okay, Professor Mishra?
Yes, ma'am. Please, as per your convenience.
Okay. Sorry, let me just go back once more. Is it visible? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. So,
Yes, ma'am.
right. Fine. Okay. Fine. So, to start with, we are just talking today, we are discussing today, or rather, I'm sharing my views on circularity in healthcare waste management. As you people are, all the students are in the circular economy group. I think the major concepts of circular economy is very well known to you. You are aware that, the linear way of economy that we have been doing for so many years is not going to, uh, led us to anything. It's basically the wastage of the resources that we are consuming. If we really go ahead with the same way of linear kind of, make, take, and dispose kind of methods. So it's very important that circular economy is explored in every field of our work. So I'm talking about circularity in healthcare waste management. Many of you would have seen about circular economy in industrial production. In circular economy also comes in solid waste management, e-waste management. You can talk about circular economy in air pollution. So there basically the concept is to embed this circularity in whatever way we can in our all the scenarios, so that a kind of resource consumption and sustainable development could be achieved. So going ahead with my slides, I would be just talking about these some of these points in my slides, talking about medical waste, or when you say medical waste, basically healthcare waste, biomedical waste, medical waste. There are a lot of terms being used when you really go into the research, because very less research has been done in India, and many of the researchers have just focused in waste assessment and all those kind of things. So when you really do the review literature, or really want to know about much about it in this scenario, you'll find a lot of terms being used. So I am, as of now, using biomedical waste as well as medical waste together to enhance the scope. Then when we talk about, try to touch some of the aspects of legislation, which is very important, because in any fields, whatever scope of work you are, it is very important to know what law says about it. Okay, so legislation is basically in environment and waste management sector considered to be the bible of any topic when we are talking about. So I may not talk about something which is out of the rule, out of the law of because then it's not going to give me anything on these kind of technical subjects. Then some of the technological overviews that I would also tell you, because if I just talk about legislation and then stop about the management part, I'll find being a technology oriented students, you should also know about what are the basic technologies. So I won't go into much detail, because each technology takes a 6-hour class to really talk about it. So I'll just touch, so that you have a holistic knowledge after this session, that what exactly the value chain looks like. Then impact of improper disposal, that I would be talking in the entire length of the my talk. And as Aditi also mentioned, and why the need of such kind of initiative at this moment is, all of us know about it. We are still in that COVID-19 pandemic. Probably it has been reduced, but the effect, the usage of the things which are required in the healthcare sector during COVID-19 pandemic, it's going to be almost same or increase, but very less chances are there that it's going to reduce. So it's very important to know about the COVID-19 impact or the pandemic impact on the healthcare waste. And I'll just show you some of the slides, some of my with the experience, with the knowledge, that how exactly, as a student of circular economy study group, first of all, how healthcare or healthcare establishment can have circularity. Looking at that, it will give you a lot of ideas, which later Professor Mishra can discuss with you, that how exactly you can design out some of the studies that you could do in this sector. So, very simple to talk. I think when we do it in the offline mode, it's very nicely that we really ask what actually waste means. So waste is something, everybody has a very different opinion on waste. About it, it's a garbage, it's rubbish, food waste. I mean, you ask waste, you'll get 100 kind of one word. I mean, this basically we do a kind of sensitization that just give them a single word that they can correlate with the word waste. So it really comes out to be, so it can be in many of these of your, I'm sure you may be also mentoring few of the people, few of the students on circular economy. So these kind of brainstorming basically makes the audience really receptive of what they are going to hear, what they are really perceive about the subject. So you can see that there are any number of definition in a very simple way, that what is waste. It is anything unwanted. It could be solid waste, liquid waste, gaseous. I have not mentioned a lot of e-waste, which basically comes under the solid waste itself. But poor sanitation is also considered as a waste. I mean, so a lot of things which we can describe it as a waste. Now, let's come to another topic called healthcare waste. In a very simple way, what actually healthcare waste means. I mean, can any of you, Professor Mishra, is it okay to ask them to unmute and just interact?
Yes, ma'am. Of course, of
Right.
course. That would
So,
be wonderful.
right. So, any of you, one or two, just please unmute yourself one by one, and one or two, anything you think, just give me the item you think is a healthcare waste.
Ma'am,
Yes,
can
yes,
we?
yes, please.
You go first.
No, you go.
Ma'am, injections.
Yeah, right. Injections, okay.
Ma'am, in COVID-19, like current situation, if we see, a lot of people are using disposable things. There's masks, there's
Right.
a lot of needles,
So,
injection, and plates, medical like where they use, and surgical things are also like use and throw one are coming out right
okay,
now.
fine.
And then
Anything else?
medicinal packets and all that.
Right. Medicine packets also comes under healthcare waste, right? Is there
Human
any?
and animal tissues,
Right.
used gloves,
Ma'am,
Yeah,
used cottons and all.
cottons,
or used
absolutely.
cottons, PPT kits.
Anything else? I'm sure many of us. All of you must have visited hospital once or twice. For any reason, would have visited definitely for your vaccination, for whatever. Anything which is coming up while really actually entering or getting into the hospital. Any other kind of waste apart from whatever students have said. Anything else? You have seen in hospital. You consider it a waste.
Food packages.
Right. Food packages, yes.
Water bottles.
Right, yes. So, thanks. I'll just continue with it. So, definitely, so you people have mentioned some of, when we talk about healthcare waste, some of the things which generally comes in our mind are injection, cottons, gloves, surgical mask, and those kind of things. But as I again mentioned, prompted you to really think of few more kind of ways that we see. You said very nicely that yes, there are you have this food packages in the canteen, or in the patient room you'll find food packages which is being sometimes usable, reusable ones, or the paper cardboard ones are there. Then we find a lot of bottles, single use, those Pepsi or PET bottles, Bisleri bottles, which are also waste. We'll find a lot of kind of files, papers, lot of very munched kind of papers which are there in the dustbin and just put up like that. Lot of food waste comes, patients, or if I have gone to see somebody, I have taken something with them and then they had something, or I may have something and I just put it in the dustbin. So there are few these kind of things also which are there as a healthcare waste. So to summarize what actually a healthcare waste means, healthcare is what? Healthcare is something, any institution or any what do you say, organization or institution which provides us the healthcare services, right? So healthcare means it could be hospital, it could be clinic, it could be a dental chair, dental where exactly we go, and it could be also PHC, primary health centers, community health center in the rural areas. So all these forms a term called healthcare. Similarly, when we say healthcare waste includes entire kind of waste which is generated in a healthcare facility. So it includes infectious as well as non-infectious waste. Very important for us to understand the difference between healthcare waste and biomedical waste. So healthcare waste is entire stream of waste which could be, at the end of the day, if we have 10 dustbins in the hospital, if the 10 dustbins are assessed, so the entire 10 dustbin will be healthcare waste, which is the waste generated from the hospital. Now, when we go to biomedical waste, so this is a part of or a subsection of healthcare waste, which is basically the waste, as per definition, it is the waste which is produced in the diagnosis, treatment, or immunization of human or animal research activities pertaining in the production of testing or biological or health camps. So, it's like under the section of subheading of healthcare waste, there is some amount of waste which is actually generated during the treatment, diagnosis, and all. So that waste is known as biomedical waste. So when we say, many of you had mentioned biomedical waste in the healthcare waste section also. That is right, because it is a part of healthcare waste. Like, if you see this picture, it shows, the soiled cottons. We have injections, we have these vials, we have a lot of, vaccination vials comes up. This medicine, basically the medicine packet, if you really see this medicine, I'm sorry, let me check. I'm okay. Is there this is not okay, fine. I was just wondering, just give me a second. I'll just have the pointer if it is there. Right, I had the pointer. Okay, fine, it's not. Fine. So, okay, let me see if it comes in the other slides. All right. So you can see the picture. The picture, basically shows that this kind of, what you have, soiled cotton. Then we have injection syringes, needles, and vials. We have, this medicine packet that which I was just telling you about. This medicine, just the medicine itself. If it's a discarded medicine, expired medicine, these come under healthcare, biomedical waste. But if there is only this particular, that packet is left there, it is not a biomedical waste. It is a healthcare waste. Why? Because it is a non-infectious part of the healthcare waste. So to just make it a bit clearer in understanding, whatever waste in the healthcare waste is infectious. Infectious, when we say potentially, ability to spread disease to somebody else. So that amount of waste is known as biomedical waste, and the rest, entire non-infectious stream of waste, like we have this, it could be simply if a cotton which is not used, if a packaging of a syringe, when we take out the disposable syringe, there is a packaging, plastic packaging. Then when we give medicine to patient, then we have these kind of foils which comes out. So these are all non-infectious. They don't have any potential to spread the disease. So how do we actually say about another important thing to distinguish between biomedical waste and healthcare waste is soiled with blood or body fluid. It comes under biomedical waste. So you find any kind of item in the healthcare establishment which has been, in touch with body fluid or blood. That waste becomes potential hazardous, and it is known as biomedical waste. Now, concern, why we are really talking about this for last 20 years almost, 1998, it was the first rule which came into force, but till now it's a really system of apathy that we couldn't cover 100% of the healthcare establishment in the country with the proper biomedical waste management. So reason why it is important to do that is, as I said, in the if you see the entire pie as a healthcare waste, in which 80%, almost 80% is non-hazardous or general waste. It is non-hazardous, it is non-infectious. Only potential infectious or hazardous waste is 20%. So it is at 10 to 25%. It basically depends on different kind of institution, but on an average it's 80-20 kind of a situation on healthcare waste, non-hazardous and biomedical potential. So what happens is, if there is a big hospital, which I already said, there are 10 dustbins which generally the hospital generates, you'll find only 2 dustbin should be the biomedical, and the rest 8 dustbins should be healthcare waste, non-infectious waste. Now these 2 dustbins, they have got so much of potential to spread disease that if you mix this, even a small amount from these 2 dustbins to any of the remaining 8 dustbin, the entire 10 dustbin will become infectious. I hope you understood this thing. I mean, it's a non-hazardous waste is because in the online it's very difficult to see the expressions. There are no expressions of the students. I can't see. I mean, even I can't open my own. I'm not able to open my own. But I would expect if any point of time it is not clear, anyone can. I don't have any issue in answering if it is not clear. So it's very important that the 20% of the waste which is hazardous or biomedical, it has to be kept separate. It will reduce lot of resources in management of the entire waste of the hospital. It will reduce lot of money, public health concerns if we really separate or make it segregated.
Ma'am, under
Now,
what category does expired tablets come?
so
Do expired
expired
tablets come?
tablet is biomedical waste. If it is tablets are there, if the tablets are there, discarded medicine, expired tablets, they all come under biomedical waste, because biomedical waste is also one of the important thing that you should know. As you see this pie, we have used the word hazardous also. Okay, so maybe the medicine may not be able to spread infection, but it is hazardous because it has some hazardous chemicals in it. So when we go ahead in the slides, you will understand that some of the waste which are there in biomedical waste, now they are considered as a biomedical waste because of their nature of corrosiveness, their nature of hazardous. It may not ki mujhe koi I may not get any disease from that medicine, but if it is not disposed of properly, it could be hazardous to someone. So it comes under biomedical waste. Okay. Now, I mean, we are really talking and embedding a kind of circular economy concepts in most of the things. Like, I would like to make this awareness session embedded in that. So, in the circular economy, it's very important to really think about or talk about material, what exactly the material composition is. Now, when we talk about designing out waste, so we should be very sure of what actually kind of material that we are talking about. What is the composition of this material in this sector? How do we really reduce it? How do we really alternate it? So, if you really see a general average material composition of waste, you will find is entirely the total waste generated in a hospital, quantity wise, it's an average Indian scenario also, it's 2 to 4 kg per bed per day. So per bed per day, why do we call it? This also you should understand that when we are talking about the legal or the legislation, what happened is, there has to be a way to define a healthcare establishment. अगर हम सबको ही clinic नहीं बोल सकते, we cannot ask all these, healthcare establishment as hospitals or, dental chairs, or so there are differentiation in the healthcare establishment. So a generalized way of measuring the hospital waste or the biomedical waste or healthcare waste was as per bed per day. So if a hospital has 10 beds, total authorized 10 beds, and if it is generating 2 kg, we just consider it around 2 kg per bed per day. So on an average we can say around almost if you say 10 beds, then it's like 20 kg per day is the healthcare waste or the hospital waste generation of that. Now, uh, coming back to the infectious waste category, you can see the infectious waste category, although we say 20% and all these things, but infectious waste category is just 200 to 400 grams per bed. So if a bed is generating almost 2 kg, almost 200 grams is the out of that 2 kg is biomedical waste. Similarly, average bulk density also 100 to 200 kg per cubic meter is the density of the waste. And if you see this pie diagram again, you will find the maximum amount of the waste in the hospital or the healthcare establishment is plastics. Reason, you are very much aware, because disposable hospitals, we cannot, healthcare establishment or healthcare service delivery, we cannot compromise on some of the issues like sterilization, those kind of things. So looking at that, plastics are the main constituent. Then we have paper, carton, then we have glass, we have metals in the hospital, we have cloth, the textile, cotton clothes and all. You can see in this light blue is the cotton gauze or cloth kind of linen. Linens are also in many times, linens are also considered as waste. And we have other kind of item. So this gives you a good introspection that when we are really talking about material change, designing and all these things, we are aware of, okay, this is the concern that the huge amount of plastics are being generated or a huge amount of paper carton are generated. How exactly this waste could be reduced? By maybe modification of the material or some innovation in the material composition. Now, how exactly the source of generation? As I already told you, healthcare establishment is a very big kind of word, and in that we have to have kind of differentiation. So these are something, all the institution which comes under source of generation. So these are the institutes, organized healthcare establishment which generally generate waste, biomedical waste. So you'll find in the new rules and all, even I think it is not mentioned in this, but very simple, like tattoo doing, the small kiosk or small shop which really has tattoo, which gives make tattoos, that also comes under source of generation of biomedical waste. So all these source of generation, mind you, they comes under the law or the legislation of biomedical waste management. So they have to manage their waste because they are generating some amount of waste which is very infectious, that has got potential to spread the infection to others. Okay. So but anybody can say, what do you think in the tattoo? What kind of waste might come out in the tattoo? If somebody has done or have visited sometime.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
can I?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, in tattoo, there's needle use. For
Yeah.
each and every needle, we should change it. Otherwise, infection could
Right.
spread in our skin.
Right.
Then there's inks, and then they use this letter like a seed to cover our tattoo after
Right.
like.
So those kind of things, entire these kind of things, like your needles, that has to be disposed properly as per the biomedical waste rule. When they open a needle or something, there will be a packaging, they have to dispose that packaging properly as per the biomedical waste rule. Whatever they say, in whatever bin it should go and where it should go. So you'll find n number of small and all kiosk of tattoos and all, but I'm sure that none of them would be, or very few of them would be really managing the waste actually as it should be in the what do you call, biomedical waste management rules. Because all these waste ultimately has to go for a treatment option. It cannot be just going and dumping in the nearby dump yard or nearby any waste heap. It cannot be done that. Okay.
Ma'am, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Please.
now in COVID times, there's needle used to give us injections.
Right.
For vaccine. So, ma'am, after giving anyone the injection, like I'm suffering from like rabies, and they give us rabies,
Right.
then that injection is infectious. So it's
Right.
biomedical waste or just medical waste?
It's a biomedical waste. But I said, just have a simple thing clear. Anything which has come in contact with blood or body fluid. When you have been given an injection, you have, your skin or the inside the skin has been touched with that needle. So it comes under biomedical waste. So anything which has, I mean, very simply, I must tell you, the sanitary waste, which basically is being generated in a huge amount, it is also now being considered to be under the biomedical waste, but it is not yet. But it's a huge mammoth problem which is coming up. We have a lot of such kind of things which are being generated at home also, which has to be considered as potential infectious. Okay, so anything which has come in contact with our blood or body fluid, it comes under biomedical waste. I hope.
Yes, ma'am. That answer my question. How should we treat biomedical
Yeah,
waste?
I'm going to just. I will be talking about this in the slides. Okay.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So, like if you see the source of generation, as I said, these are all the hospitals and all source of generation. But uh, in a graph wise, if you see this graph, it shows the major amount of biomedical waste or healthcare waste is generated by hospitals. So hospitals, when we say the bedded ones, mostly nursing homes are there, which is counted as 25 to 30 beds. Then you call it a nursing home. So there are different names being given in the healthcare establishments. So hospitals generate huge amount of waste. And coming back, even if you find police station, so what kind of waste police station might be generating? Any idea? You have funeral homes, you have health units in the industries. So police stations and these kind of places, there would be a kind of waste. Like these are all, source of generation, but they may not be generating waste every day. When we say every day, because in the police station, in most of the bigger police station, it is attached a small healthcare facility, a small kind of clinic kind of is always attached to it. In jails it is there. So those kind of institutions or these healthcare establishments, they do generate waste. Similarly, you'll find, in some of these, somebody comes with kind of a bandage and all these, and then they are put in some kind of first aid is could be given. So those first aid and all part also comes under biomedical waste. All right. So again, why healthcare waste? I'll, I'm sorry. I think I could have changed it. Why biomedical waste is hazardous? We should also know. I mean, healthcare waste. When we say, it is the entire waste, but under that, 80% is non-infectious and non-hazardous, and we are talking about the 20% waste. But if we are not segregating it, 100% of the healthcare waste is hazardous. Why it is hazardous? As we really discussed now, it contains infectious agent. It has got microbes and all these things which could spread disease, pathogens. It has genotoxic or cytotoxic agent. Like, for example, if you say, I'll come into the details of some of the categories of waste. Cytotoxics are basically those drugs or medicines or injections which are also used for cancer treatment. They kill the cells, cytotoxic. So they kill the extra cells, enhanced cells, enlarged cells. So those kind of things are cytotoxic. So that is how they are hazardous. We had a lot of hazardous chemicals or pharmaceuticals in the healthcare waste and biomedical waste. As biomedical waste, it is radioactive. Many of the sampling, radio diagnosis, we have a lot of radioactive isotopes are used. So those waste, or in the diagnosis or in these kind of centers also come under biomedical waste. So they are radioactive. So it has to be very separately. There is, in the rule, it is mentioned how radioactive waste cannot go to like a simple cotton or a blood soaked cotton. Okay. So there is a method of, it has to be stored in some lead container. Then, it has to be sent to BARC. So there are ways of doing these kind of things, but as the amount of radioactive waste in normal hospitals, I'm not talking about cancer hospitals or all those things, so it is less. So kind of less priority is given. If it contains needles and other sharps, please understand what are sharps, so we would be talking about it also. But anything which has got the capacity to puncture our skin, कुछ भी जो हमें चुभ सकता है, anything which can puncture our skin is known as sharps. So it can be needle, it can be broken glass, it could be anything. So those kind of things are there, so it is hazardous. Similarly, any inefficient or defective incinerators, we'll discuss about what exactly incinerator means. Toxic emissions happens, gases comes out from these, which leads to when you say toxic emission, there are like very important toxic emission that you should understand are dioxin and furans. Dioxin and furans are basically the toxic emission which comes out from inefficient incinerators, and if we continuously over a period of time keep inhaling it, it is highly carcinogenic. So that is the reason that healthcare waste has to be segregated. Then these are some of the pictures. This very common picture you see everywhere. These kind of waste, current waste management scenario is like that in most of the cities. Everything is mixed up. Okay, so you'll find this kind of scenario also. See, a lot of needles, syringes, and all are also. This also happens in the places where exactly not good amount of biomedical waste management or healthcare waste management system exist. It also happens due to carelessness, callousness, and lack of awareness in terms of hospitals. And you'll find, in this also in our home care waste. I should give you one example that if there are 2 or 3 members in a family who are diabetic, and they are taking insulin injections every day, there is good amount of these kind of syringes or needles are being generated. So there is a way of home care waste. It has to be rooted to urban healthcare, urban development, or the municipality, and they have to root it to the biomedical waste. This has come into more picture with the COVID scenario when we have patients at home. So we are at home generating biomedical waste. So these are not only just besides the hospital, but it could also be near the home. Very important is zoonosis. If you know this term, you can later think about it. That anything, any disease in which an animal is passed through an animal. Animal act as a source of spreading of the disease is known as zoonosis. So zoonosis, there has been cases of passing of tuberculosis, bovine tuberculosis, to humans by some of these ways. Like they have been very sporadic cases that they fed on cottons which were from nearby tuberculosis isolation ward, or they have thrown it out. They fed on that probably, and chances of they spread the tuberculosis or bovine tuberculosis through their milk to human. So there are chances of such kind of zoonosis through the improper waste management. Vulnerable group at health risk. Very important for you to know that we are really talking about environment, economy, but in all the circular economy concept also, social part also is embedded. We are designing out ways, we are giving new innovations, not only for environment, health, and everything. It is also a part of human intervention. Social intervention comes in between. When you say, impact innovations, what exactly are the impact? So that kind of thing you find, there are so many people whose livelihood is on waste management. You see in the right side pictures, there are people who are managing our waste every day from the home. These are municipality people. There are, in the left picture, you find if you have visited some of the major landfill, maybe in Ranchi or Jharkhand, I'm not very sure whether you have a very big landfill or the ground, which we call it, must be there definitely. So that landfill, if you really visit at some time, you'll find n number of people really scavenging waste. They are taking out important things from that waste to be sold to earn everyday livelihood. So So vulnerable group are at health risk if we are not managing biomedical waste properly. If this waste comes out here, it's definitely they are going to get needle stick injury. They are, and most of these women who are in the scavengers, they come with their children also there, because they don't have anyone to keep the children beside. So these are some social impacts that you should always also consider while we are talking about waste management or biomedical waste. Please see this slide. You'll understand the gravity of what could be the adverse impact event, impact due to healthcare waste. You'll find, in 2000, the contaminated injection equipments accounted for 5% of hepatitis B, C, and HIV virus cases worldwide. So it's a huge, you just see out of hepatitis C cases, 40% was due to contaminated needles. So this shows that unless we are really managing it properly, it can lead to these kind of impacts. Similarly, in 2009, probably in Gujarat, we had, huge amount of this outbreak of hepatitis B, and almost 94 lives were being sacrificed due to that, and use of the injection equipment. That was the case which basically came in 2009 in Gujarat, and then almost 240 people contracted hepatitis B. So the needle or the was not sterilized; it was unsterilized needle, and it was being used for injection. Similarly, it has a lot of other things that you can see. If you see, the second last point, it is, it is a trade, mind you. You must know something about it, that there is a trade of illegitimate trade, we can say illegal trade, which really deals with second-hand medical devices. Second-hand medical devices, you'll see many of the hospitals, see all these hospitals, the plastics or any medical device which is being used, it's of very high quality, obviously, because it has to be used for healthcare services. So the quality, it is a virgin plastic. So this, it is only one time use. So when it is used for one time and it has to be disposed, lot of unscrupulous people are there who would like to have some money out of it by selling it पीछे से ही किसी और को बेच दिया type. So they will sell it off to somebody and have the money. So there in Delhi, there had been, in many places it is there, but for the poor people and those who really cannot afford very high needles or syringes or kind of dispovan or those kind of things, these kind of people, they have been just cleaning it, repackaging it, and this second hand way they are just selling it to them at a lower price. So it is kind of a trade which has been flourishing for some time, and it might be now also, but with definitely improvised monitoring and this by state pollution control board, central pollution control board, it is now in check. But this kind of trade also exists. So it's very important to understand the adverse impact due to healthcare waste, because we are not only talking about something very imaginary part. These are all data which are available. Magnitude of biomedical waste in India, please see the slide. It will give you again, when we are really getting into the subject, just see this particular slide to understand. We have almost 238,170 healthcare facilities in India, out of which some of them are bedded, some of them are non-bedded. Now we had almost 198 approved common biomedical waste management facility existing in India. And as per the recent data, almost 500 out of, if you see 2017 data, 557 tons per day is the biomedical waste which is being generated, which is definitely increased in the COVID-19 case. But out of that 557 tons, only 517 ton per day was treated. So you understand that there is a kind of, we don't have so much of sufficient infrastructure and human resource to handle this huge amount of waste. In COVID, it became 850 tons. But, that time also 517 was the capacity. So you imagine that the difference in the biomedical waste, how exactly it could have been treated or it could have been disposed. International conventions and all, I think I'll just skip this slide to make it, there are 2 and 3 major international conventions, out of which our legislation came up. There's a Basel Convention on Hazardous Waste. These are global treaty. Everybody, those who are signatory, and India is signatory to all, we have to abide by this global convention, which has Stockholm Convention on POPs. POPs, as I told you about, persistent organic pollutants in air. We have to reduce the emission of POPs. POPs are like dioxins and furans, and they are from the burning of plastic items. It comes up. Some of the medical items in incineration, it is emitted. Minamata Convention on Mercury, again, very important convention, which is there, and India is signatory to that convention again. In this Minamata, it talks about, protecting human health from the adverse effect of mercury. All right. Legislation for biomedical waste, kind of talk about waste management. The first rule came in 1998. Then it was, huge. They were modified. In 2000, it was modified. 2003, it was modified. 2011 was the last when it was modified. After that, also in the 2011, it was a draft biomedical waste management rules, and lot of inputs were being asked from many experts that what is missing. So a lot of consultations happened. Eventually, in 2016, March 2016, we have the new revised biomedical waste management rules. So the 2016 rule is the rule which we generally abide now. So there are some of the terms which are being used in the legislation. When you will be reading the entire, it is easily available in Central Pollution Control Board site. If you Google it, you'll get the entire Bible of this and talking about what the rule says. So there are terms like occupier. Occupier are basically people who are the owner, it's not owner of the medical establishment, but the administrators who are really taking care of the day-to-day operation of the healthcare establishment. They are known as occupier. Authorization is one kind of, permission that you have to take from whom? I mean, it is like the prescribed authority when we say in biomedical waste management, who are the people who can be reported and all are the State Pollution Control Board. So you have Jharkhand State Pollution Control Board, we have West Bengal State Pollution Control Board, there is Tamil Nadu State Pollution Control Board, DPCC is there. So, that kind of pollution board or committee, they are the people whom they are the prescribed authority to monitor that the rules are being abided. Then we have advisory committee. Now the advisory committee has been also set up. So authorization, as I said, if somebody starts some clinic or some hospital or some facility, they have to take a permission from prescribed authority or pollution control board, mentioning what kind of waste is going to be there, what are all there. So that kind of thing, a permission is known as authorization. Advisory committee is there. It has to be formed at state level as well as district committee. District level, it has to meet, every 6 months to discuss the progress of biomedical waste management in the state. Then we have annual report that has to be submitted to all these, to the prescribed authority every year, to understand that, yes, whatever authorization was being taken for, jiske liye permission they gave, they are, doing it as per that. So I won't go much detail into the scope of the rules because I think I'm not very sure whether it's already 7:25. Is it like so? Professor Mishra will have a bit of time to really.
Yes, ma'am. If it's comfortable for you.
Yeah, it's. I'm just thinking that how time passed. Maybe I was just discussing it more. Sorry. So the scope of the rule is basically, these are all the scope of the rules. I may not go to much. It says that all the occupiers, whom I told you earlier, the source of generation of the waste, even the tattoo shop, comes under the rule. So there are few important points which requires to be like, the chlorinated plastic bags, gloves, blood bags, they have to be phased out from the hospitals waste management system or the hospital healthcare delivery system within 2 years from the date of notification. Like by 2018, it should have been phased out, but it is being phased out in a very, it's not possible for all the hospitals to really go into non-chlorinated because there is cost uh, factor involved. There is also availability factor which is involved. Okay. Now there are few two three things important, that they have to set up a barcode system for biomedical waste management. See, these are important things which came in 2016 rule. I'm not talking about something in 1998, but the latest rule also talks about setting up barcode system. See, you people are also in the technical or the management field. You understand that so how exactly your knowledge or anybody's knowledge in the of the technical thing also gets embedded into such kind of system. So barcoding has been made mandatory for tracking of the waste. Like there has been a lot of complaints. There is a common treatment facility. See, common treatment facility means a facility which takes waste from all the hospitals and treat it in one place. Because the rule right from the beginning has mentioned, and even in this rule we will see, they have mentioned, if you see the first, second, fourth point, no healthcare establishment shall establish on-site biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility if common treatment facility is within distance of 75 kilometers. So if I have 75 kilometers, there is a CTF or common treatment facility. A hospital, even if it is as much wealthy or as much resourceful, it cannot set up its biomedical waste management, like it cannot set up an incinerator or all these treatment technology. No, because what will happen is, why it is not, because then we'll have in our small city n number of 100 mushrooming incinerator in the city. It's a public health hazard. So to make it easier, what was been the captive incinerator? Many hospitals like AIMS, Apollo, which have been doing biomedical waste management since long, even before 98 they started up, they have the captive incinerator. They have the entire system in their own premise. So those who had already established running it in a proper way, but there is nothing that they cannot have anything new. If it is an extra waste, now that captive system cannot treat, they have to send it off to outsourced agency. Okay. So these are some of the things that require to be there are also, as we said, within the 75 kilometers, if there is no CTF, for example, in very rural places, we have primary health centers. वो उसका पता चला उस state में, there is one CTF which is almost 200 kilometers from that particular primary health center. So in that case, there are systems being also suggested for those isolation centers or quarantine centers now, when we call it, or PHCs, where they can have these kind of pits, burial pits to be made, and the entire dimension, structure and all of burial pit, how it should be so that it doesn't pollute environment, that is also mentioned in the rules, guidelines and all. So these kind of facilities and options are also being provided in the rule. Another important thing, the 2016 rule has, 1998 and all rules had 10 categories of segregation. Now, this is the very important slide to know segregation at source. I told you, 80% of the waste is non-infectious, 20 is only infectious. So it's very important that we segregate these two. So for the 20% of the biomedical waste, segregation is mandatory as per the rule. Earlier, there were almost 10 categories that hospitals or healthcare establishment were asked to segregate, which became, with a lot of consultations and all in 2016. Now we are very sure of only 4 kind of categories, which are there, 4 or 5 kind of categories, which are there in the waste management. So segregation, as we know, in the circular economy concept, we know we have to close the loop. Closing the loop, it is very important that, again, the same thing, we have to separate that particular 20% of the waste, really treat it, reuse it, reduce it, whatever, and then again, so that, we don't have to wait for the raw material extraction more. So if we do it with the segregation is the first step in biomedical waste management. So I'll just give you a slight thing that the first category of the waste, which is yellow waste, you'll go in any hospital for any study, please see some of them do go for this kind of color coding. But color coding is not, it is mandatory, but it cannot be considered if my hospital not able to have yellow bin, so I will not do segregation. No. color coding is basically meant for most of those people who really cannot read or write, especially read. What happens is color coding is basically, those housekeeping staff or anyone, if they are, taking the waste separately, they should understand that yellow ko alag se hi leke jana hai, red ko alag se hi leke jana hai. But if we have only all red color bin and we are just writing it, this is infectious, this is this. So, that poor person is not able to read. So looking at those kind of objectives, basically the color coding is to facilitate separation of the waste so that every waste category has a different treatment option. Also, it is important, like if I have put it in a yellow bin, so when the common treatment facility is taking the yellow liner or the plastic packet, it will treat that yellow thing as per the rules, what yellow waste should be done. Nobody is allowed right from the generation till, I mean, after the hospital gives off the waste to the CTF or the common treatment facility, they are not at all allowed to open it. So how will they understand? So these kind of color coding basically helps in guiding the value chain. So yellow, you will see all kind of anatomical waste, soiled waste, cytotoxic drug, discarded linens, it comes under yellow waste. They have to segregate it in yellow. Similarly, in the new rule, the blood bags, the bags which has blood and all in that, live attenuated vaccines, COVID-19 also vaccine vials and all, which basic vaccine basically, and if it is treated, then it is vials are separate. So they all come under the yellow waste category. You see in below, there's a microbial culture. We have pathological labs in the hospitals where cultures of thing happens. So these are all go into the yellow bins. Then we have the second category of red. Red talks about all the plastic waste or, which are recyclables. Recyclable means, again, in the circular economy, please keep them in things in your mind that about resource recovery. So these are the items from where the resource recovery can happen. These are the recyclable items in the hospital waste, which basically has to be sterilized, mutilated, जिससे उसको फिर से कोई use ना कर सके. It has to be mutilated, cut, and then it could be recycled. So all the plastic waste which are recyclable, you got syringe, we got, IV, these bottles and IV tubes, we got vacutainer. These all goes into gloves also. They all go into plastic, red ones. Third category are the sharps. Sharps, as I said, anything which can puncture our skin, but sharps which are metals. So there are two kind of sharps which are there. So first sharp, that is the metal sharps. Metal sharps, they have to go into a kind of a yellow, white, translucent, anything, which is white, translucent, like a jerrycan. एक सफेद रंग का jerrycan, maybe it can be given. So this basically, we don't give it in the plastic bag. Why? Because plastic bag se to wo nikal jayega aise karke, dusre ko lag jayega. So, just to avoid that, it has to in a puncture-proof container. We have to put it in a puncture-proof container. And for the needles and all, you'll see in the hospitals, we already have this kind of equipment, which is known as needle destructors. So that is being used to mutilate the needle, and it is put in the white puncture-proof. Then we have sharp, the second kind of sharp, which are glass sharps. These glass sharps, these are the kind of glass sharps and the metal implants which are used in body. These two kind of waste are also recyclables. Okay, so these waste are mostly put in blue colored cardboard box or something for further treatment. Liquid waste, I won't go into much detail into that. It itself is a very huge topic. The liquid waste are also generated in the hospitals. The patients vomit, you got a lot of blood which can come out. So that kind of liquid waste has got a system of management of pre-treatment and then disposal in effluent treatment plant. Hospitals which are generating liquid waste of some quantity, they have to have effluent treatment plant, ETP, in their premise. Okay. So this is the summary of the segregation. That is how the 4 categories of the waste. Labeling has made it mandatory. We have to label the waste. All the waste requires to be labeled. This is the second one. It is the biohazard symbol. Biohazard symbol showing that it is a potential of infection and hazard. Then we have C is a cytotoxic symbol. If there is separately something is just cytotoxic, the hospitals or the healthcare establishment have to label it properly. See, these all labeling is basically why. This is basically to make sure that at the treatment end, it is handled properly. Now, if I've labeled something as cytotoxic, definitely when a common treatment facility staff is treating it, they are taking proper precautions while doing this treatment. These are the kind of containers which are, after segregation, when we did the segregation, these are being segregated in this. The plastic ones, generally we call it liners. Then these are puncture proof containers, and these are kind of cardboard. So there is very difference. I'm just giving you an average, that generalized way that it is being done like this, but many hospitals use different kind of containers. Transportations, after collection from the wards and all, it has to be now transported to a main area. So when it transport to the main area or collection storage place, from there it is being taken to treatment. So this is where basically the maximum role, a kind of a maximum role of hospitals ends. Then a small slide on occupational health safety. Definitely, you understand that being a healthcare establishment, service delivery and all, they have to make sure that occupational health is kept in mind. So, there are n number of hugely reported needle stick injuries. You are not aware, or, many of you must be aware, needle stick injuries are what basically needle stick injuries are. Some of the time what happens is when they inject somebody and then they try to, earlier it was, but it is not a normal, if once somebody tries to recap needle, वो ऊपर उसका वो कैप को लगाने जाते हैं, तो they get injury. So वो चुभ जाता है कभी कभी. So that is known as needle stick injury. So there are now ways to avoid the needle stick injury. There are ways to capping or recapping the needles. There are ways of, as I said, कि उसको कैसे mutilate करना है. So for that recapping is not required. So these kind of things are very important, which is a very separate part of, which also comes under biomedical waste. Similarly, spillage, how to use, if there is a spillage in the hospital, how to treat it, how exactly the occupational health safety has to be taken care. Now, when I said, and somebody was also asking about what exactly happens after that. So when we segregate in 4 categories, the hospital transport the waste to collect the waste from all the wards. I'm just giving you an example of hospital. Then after that, it comes into a storage place. From the storage place, it is now picked up by the outsource agency, the common treatment facility. I'm showing you one common treatment facility picture, which was run by C itself. I was the person who was in charge of this common treatment facility. It is in Gulbarga in North Karnataka. So we had, with our knowledge as part of a public-private partnership with the district administration, did a study long back ago. And after that, the district administration came out that we should establish a common treatment facility, an environment-friendly common treatment facility, looking at the waste consumption and of a study, So it was right back in 2000 when it happened. And we built it up. We operated it, almost 1,400 healthcare establishments were being catered with this by this treatment facility. And in 2020, it is handed over to district administration. So what actually I want to say, this is the actual picture from the hospitals. These kind of vehicles are there, which brings the waste again separately. These vehicles also have ऐसे करके divider रहता है. So all the yellow bags will be in one, the blue bag in one divider. And in our vehicles, definitely we had put it up in more way that we had HEPA filters and all also. So that, while coming, अगर कहीं से गलती से खुला भी किसी और का लेने के लिए, then HEPA filters basically don't let, infection go out. So this is a common treatment facility where the waste comes. Now, these are the things which are used for the treatment of waste. Now, most of our biomedical waste is basically treated in thermal process. Thermal process, when we say garm, heat. So we generally use heat to destroy microorganisms, to destroy the potential infectious part of the waste. So thermal processes are a different process, something which acts on low heat. So you see this picture, these are autoclaves. Many of you would have seen autoclave, I'm not very sure, but if you have really seen, it is a sterilization equipment. In labs and all in educational institute, we have vertical kind of छोटा सा pressure cooker की तरह समझ सकते हैं इसको in normal way. So that kind of equipment, it is a horizontal equipment being used where hot water or the low heat at 93 to 177 degrees centigrade is used to kill the microbes in the waste. So most of the plastic waste, the red category waste, is the waste which comes under sterilization. So all, I mean, except the yellow waste. See, yellow waste goes to incinerator. Rest all waste can be sterilized by this low heat. And there are indication at what temperature, one pressure we should, run it and what time. So all the kind of system could be sterilized by this autoclave or low heat. Low heat, we have got another example of low heat is microwave. In many places, microwaves are being used to generate that amount of heat, and laboratory waste, plastic, sharps, all are sterilized, could be sterilized in microwaves. Both, the autoclave and microwave, you'll see minimal emission. There is almost no emission from this. There is no poisonous gas comes out from this. So these are preferred mode of treatment. Medium heat, that is not there in India as of now, so I will just skip that. It's a reverse polymerization where exactly you see the heat temperature, 177 to 540 degree, it is being used to sterilize the waste, and then it has to be mutilated or cut. Third is incinerator, which is very widely used, unfortunately. But incinerator works on high temperature. There are two chambers. The maximum it goes to 1200, 1050 to 1200 degrees centigrade. The incinerator temperature has to be there. So it basically is burning, nothing else. आप उसको burn कर रहे हैं, but because the temperature is so high, so the complete oxidation takes place, and there are in the stack there are a lot of 30-meter stack होना चाहिए जिससे आसपास ना जाए and particulate नीचे ना जम जाए. And then you have also some kind of equipments like venturi scrubbers in this. So this is incinerator. It is basically used for all kind of yellow category of waste. So हम जब yellow category waste CTF में दे देते हैं तो वो खोलते बोलते कुछ भी नहीं है. They cannot open any kind of waste. Similarly, directly yellow वाले को ले जाकर वो लोग जला देते हैं. मतलब they put it in the incinerator. Now what happens, जैसे मैं आपको बोल रही थी कि if we are not segregating it in proper color code or proper labeling, what will happen if I'm putting all kind of IV or the gloves, PVC items, plastic and all in yellow, when it comes to the CTF, what will they do? They will not open up to see whether I've done wrong. They will just burn it. Now, this is where the actual problem happens. When we burn PVC or harmful plastics in, these PVC and other chlorinated or other compounds in the incinerator, the dioxin and furans may be emitted. So that is also one of the reasons that segregation is very important. There is another improved version of high heat, which is known as plasma pyrolysis, which has come now in many of the places, and it is being favored against incinerator. So it has got similar kind of working, but basically used kind of plasma torch, and it's to burn to generate the heat inside the equipment, and we don't have emissions. Very, very significant reduction in the emissions like dioxin, furans and all. There are systems of dry heat sterilization. You see here, like, these are basically used for metals. So when the metals, like, syringe or metal sharp wala jo category hai, like in our CTF, we were using it dry heat sterilization, which is known as oven, like normal oven that we use. This kind of equipment is there where all the sharps are being sterilized at above 180 degrees centigrade. No, sorry, it's 108. It's not one. It should be 185. It's not 1850. Sorry that. So 180 or 185 degrees centigrade for at least residence time is there to kill all the microbes. Now, in the below temperature, below you're seeing one of the equipment which is used for shredding. Now, all the hospital waste, plastic waste which has come, it is being sterilized in autoclave, which I showed you. After autoclaving, it is very important that still the sterilized waste is mutilated. Like is tarah chota karke, it has to be shredded, and then it is being sold off. It is recyclable. It is sold off as it generates a good amount of revenue to the CTS. So you understood, here we are closing the loop. Here we are, putting that waste after proper sterilization, proper, treatment, we are mutilating it, and then it is being sold to recycler to make another other products. It might not be used in medical grade plastic, but it could be used in any other kind of other plastic manufacturing. Sharps, as I said, in many places you'll find dry heat sterilization is not there. So needles, scalpels or blades jo aate hain, metal ke sharps, it is also used in this kind of encapsulation. Encapsulation matlab kya hota hai? Jab CTF mein aata hai, what happens is all these, metal sharps, usko, but you have this cement ke andar unko dal diya jata hai, and then it is being, एनकैप्सुलेटेड. उसका एक सीमेंट की ब्लॉक के अंदर वी जनरली उसको सुखाने के लिए रख दिया जाता है एक मोल्ड में. सो यू सी ऑल दीज थिंग्स, ये सीमेंट के हैं, बट इसके अंदर वो मेटल है उसके अंदर, म्यूटिलेटेड या किसी लेवल पे वो मेटल्स आर ऑलरेडी देयर. दीज आर यूज्ड फॉर कंस्ट्रक्शंस एंड ऑल. ओके, केमिकल बेस्ड टेक्नोलॉजी, आई विल नॉट गो मच इनटू दैट. एफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट, किसी भी सीटीएफ में अगर आप जाते हैं, आपका किसी कॉमन ट्रीटमेंट फैसिलिटी में स्टडी के लिए विजिट करेंगे, यू विल फाइंड दिस काइंड ऑफ एफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट इन दैट. एफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट किस लिए होता है? इट इज बेसिकली फॉर ट्रीटिंग द लिक्विड वेस्ट. सो देयर आर डिफरेंट ways of treating the liquid waste. So such kind of effluent treatment plant are there. Now you will ask the question that in CTF, you should ask the question that in CTF liquid waste kahan se aaya? Potential liquid, matlab hazardous. See, when waste comes in a CTF, vehicles ko washing kiya jata hai. Vehicles has to be washed every day with the chemicals and all these things. And vehicles, usme se kai waste mein se, you'll find a lot of पानी निकल के व्हीकल में आ गया है. ड्यूरिंग ट्रीटमेंट ऑल्सो इधर से उधर ले जाते समय कभी कभी गिरता है. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग हैज टू गो इनटू एफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट. सो दैट इज हाउ एफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट्स आर have to be there in the biomedical waste treatment facility. Monitoring and tracking, now the rule has become very stringent. All the vehicle trackers are installed. We have been using it. It is always preferred to use this kind of track GPS systems and in the vehicle itself, so that one understand that the vehicle has collected all the waste from all the hospitals. Similarly, there are systems like, if you see below, there is a CEMS, continuous emission monitoring system, which is being installed in all the industries now. And this basically is attached to the incinerator. So wo every minute jab bhi hum incinerator chalayenge, it will check how much is the temperature, what is the carbon monoxide, what is the carbon dioxide, what is NOx, SOx. So wo sab ka data jo hai sensor ke hisab se it gives it into the CEMS. Okay, so that is what the waste management planning, healthcare waste management planning should talk about. And as we said, we should have किसी भी healthcare waste management, biomedical waste management में सबसे पहले एक committee बनाना is very important. We should have a waste assessment where exactly the role of some of your research or the the waste assessment is a very categorized and a very complete complex thing. You cannot just go and एक ही ward में ले लिया and then we say this is the waste generated in this ward, this is the biomedical waste. No. So there are ways to do it. There are ways to do it, that how many times in a day actually it has to be done, which category, which ward, which isolation centers, and OT, what are the points in the waste in the healthcare facility the waste assessment should take place, or kya dekhna hai. So entirely a study could be devoted to these kind of things. Similarly, LCA tool, I think you people are aware of life cycle assessment, which forms a very important tool in circular economy. We have to understand the cradle to cradle approach, कि ये जो प्लास्टिक है या प्लास्टिक का ये जो मेरे पास एक सिरिंज आया है, इसका LCA कैसा है, इसका लाइफ साइकिल असेसमेंट कैसा है, इसकी जर्नी कैसी है, the moment it is being made, right, from the petroleum extraction, plastics and all, and then after disposal till recycling to ultimate disposal. So what is the entire life cycle journey of a product or a service? It is life cycle assessment. It is very new, very robust topic, and it is being used now in like all kind of reporting. So the LCA आपको environment performance को improve करने में it helps everybody. So for you designing out ways to for any innovation in designing, you have to really look at each and part of the LCA. So LCA could be used as a tool. Appropriate technology selection के लिए भी LCA could be used. Like how much is the environmental performance of that technology? Should it be used or not? Sustainable procurement comes out in a very important way in hospitals. क्या खरीदना चाहिए? How much should be consumed? How much should be recycled and all these things? It all comes under sustainable procurement. And reporting and documentation, as I said, annual reporting, हमारा GR जो अपना sustainability reporting होता है, environment performance reporting of as an industry, because healthcare establishment is an industry, so it's kind of this kind of reporting has to happen. COVID-19, when we say, you see, almost waste generation increased by 17% in the COVID. You have, almost 3,000 vaccination centers were being built. And in these cases, the COVID waste has increased a lot. And for that, apart from 2016 rule, in July 2020, a COVID-19 waste amendment was being attached. An amendment in the rule was being made that how the COVID-19 waste from the hospitals, from the quarantine centers, हम लोग कई जगह पे घरों के आसपास quarantine centers बनाए गए थे, home care waste, उन सब के बारे में COVID-19 waste amendment is talking about. Okay, so vaccination center, vaccination camp में क्या करना है? So a new amendment really came out to that, and ultimately was that all the biomedical waste has to be transported to common disposal facility. It was very important that COVID-19 वाला भी कोई positive waste जो है, it should not be just going around here there. So for that, this kind of app was also being control board, जिसमें एकदम बताया गया, they have really asked all the CTFs. I told you there are 198 common treatment facility in the country. 28 more have been added up. They are in the process also, probably has been added up in the recent. So these many, all the treatment facility and all the hospitals, quarantine centers were asked to download this app and put everyday waste reduce, waste managed and all to that. Now coming ahead to healthcare or the carbon footprint of a hospital, please see this, that climate footprint of a healthcare is 4.4% of the global net emission. तो मतलब कम नहीं है. अगर हम COP26 की बारे में बात करते हैं, many of you would have followed COP26. So the almost 4.5% हमारे पूरा emission का global emission is from the healthcare establishments. So it's almost like 514 coal-fired power plant के बराबर है. So we have to use good amount of circular economy and resilience, climate smart healthcare to overcome this. As I already told you, designing out waste, when we said using CE principle, this is the linear economy that we are talking about. कि natural resource से हमने लिया, कुछ बनाया, manufacturing, we did it, and then we disposed it off as a waste. This is the linear economy that we have been following for long. But now it is very important to have a circular economy where exactly the concept of circular economy has so many R's, the reduce, refurbish, remanufacture, repair, those kind of things have to come in. Strategy for adopting, very important. I'll just go into 2 points, that sustainable production and consumption system. That is very important. How do we have circular economy in a healthcare establishment? So consumption, and the rest is reduce, reuse, recycle, which is very important. I have just put down some of the points. I will not go in detail in much, but if you really look at it, first important part of circular economy in healthcare waste is really aiming towards zero waste. It is possible. It is definitely possible. When we say it's not possible, we are somehow really undermining the principles of circular economy. When we say zero waste, any waste which is going in a circle, in that loop, in a closed loop, basically makes a healthcare establishment as a zero waste. We can achieve that. If it is the food waste, we just put it in the composting. There is these plastic waste and all, we really put it in a proper recycling. So you will find it is possible to have a zero waste system anywhere. So reusable items should be given priority over disposables. There are concerns definitely for this in medical sector, but there are many things which could be reused. That could be reused. We are just talking about PPE and all. In the COVID-19, huge amount of PPE has been used. So now the researches and innovations are how to have safe reusable PPEs, which could be PPE when we say personal protective equipment, the gowns, mask, and all these things. So those are some of the things that we can do from zero waste. Second strategy is to single use plastics in healthcare. We have to make sure reduce the usage of single use plastics in the healthcare. Now it is very important also to understand ki kya problem hai isme. Like many of the plastics, which are like blood bags and IV, in this some kind of chemicals called phthalates are being used, which are have huge health effect, endocrine disruptors. So we have to really have some kind of alternative products to use this. Definitely, these things are important. Like I cannot say ki you wear a mask made up of paper, or you wear a mask only made up of some eco-friendly cotton. No, it is not possible in that kind of situation in medical sector. But there are ways that where we can replace the unwanted part. Agar mere jo side mein if you see an example, I'll just show you in the olefins. Okay, yeah, this only. All the surgical masks and all are basically made up of a plastic, which is known as, it is a polypropylene, also known as olefin fibers, fabric. So, itna theek hai, for the bacterial filtration and all. But you see the mask which has got usko jo bandhne ke liye banate hain, which goes below, there the plastic component can be reduced. There is nose bridge where exactly plastic component could be reduced. So that kind of alternative innovations has to come in. Using non-burn technology is very important in circular economy. Agar hum every waste we are just burning it off an incinerator, so it is a linear economy. We are just putting off everything in waste. Entire resource is wasted. Incinerator is a very huge resource and energy intensive procedure. We have to limit the use of incinerator. इसलिए jitna maximum we can segregate and use alternative technology. As I told you, non-emission technology, it is good for circular economy in this. Toxic free future, it is very important also. Minamata convention मैंने बताया था. Circular economy में भी क्यों आ रहा है ये? Because if we have something toxic in our waste stream, I cannot do anything good to it. I cannot use it for any good purpose for it. So it is very important that toxic chemicals from the healthcare establishment is replaced. Mercury जो होता है, that is the major toxic element in healthcare. आपके thermometers होते हैं mercury के, barometers, these sphygmomanometers होते हैं जो blood pressure के लिए use होता है. So we have dental amalgams. काफी लोगों को पता होगा कि dental जो हम filling करते हैं, the filling also earlier used to have mercury in it. So these things have to be replaced. There are processes being done. There are alternatives available. Cost mein thoda sa issue hai, but many hospitals are going towards it. So we have to work towards this aspect. Sustainable consumption and procurement is the second last aspect that we are talking about. That humko, we have to see lot of, like, if you see purchasing of PVC glove, we have to ban it. In the procurement, it has to be banned that PVC gloves are not required. Now, most of the gloves that is being used are either latex, PVC, or now the nitrile gloves have come up. Nitrile gloves is far better than PVC gloves. So because, all these are ultimately going for incineration, if we have more of PVC or chlorinated, it will lead to emission. So shifting it to some of the alternative technology, it is very important for the procurement person to understand these kind of things, that what are the circular packaging. You see this particular picture. See this kind of picture, if you see, there is a packaging where innovative packaging is being made, that the vial is being put in that particular slot. इससे क्या हुआ, काफी हजार तरीके का पैकेजिंग मटेरियल लाइक थर्मोकोल, अदर थिंग्स which generally put up in such kind of packaging कि वो टूटे ना, that is being avoided. So such kind of designs in circular packaging requires to be thought of. So this is how we are just ending this, sustainable development goals, you are very much aware of it, that what are sustainable development goals. And I think healthcare waste comes under all these kind of categories of sustainable development goals, and we can meet them with proper healthcare goal. And towards circularity, designing out responsible production and consumption should be the focus in the healthcare waste management. We should have eco-friendly alternatives for the management of waste and extracting value of waste from waste, which is the main principle. हम लोग natural resource को जितना कम exhaust कर पाएंगे, if we are extracting the value from the waste, that is properly recycling and proper segregation, proper disinfection, sterilization, we would be able to have circularity. And all these, this is a campaign that and a project that we are starting now, Heal Without Harm. So like, we go to a healthcare establishment for healing, getting healed. So if the healthcare establishments really come up with all these things, they can just heal without harm, without harming health, environment, and social and all. So continuous awareness, training, capacity building is very important with research and innovation. And these are some of the resources that is being used for preparing the slides. And thank you so much for a patient listening, I must say, because I think we are almost 30 minutes ahead of what our schedule was. So that was all, from my side. And I'm just open to any question, any answer, anything if you have in mind.
To anybody, if anyone has any queries, you can just be very short and precise in your
Ma'am,
question.
I have a query that
Yes.
there is any scheduled inspections by the government in the hospitals for biomedical waste?
Yes, there has to be a scheduled inspection as per the rule. The prescribed authority, the State Pollution Control Board, have to monitor it at regular intervals. And, surprise inspections, not only in the healthcare facility itself, but they also go to common treatment facilities also to check. So, yes, there are scheduled as well as unscheduled surprise visits which are there.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, each time we go to a salon or we have a shave at home, then we are using the blade.
Right.
And I think that also comes under
Absolutely.
biomedical waste.
Absolutely. It is.
So how can we just deal with that? How can we dispose
So,
that?
right,
Or
so that waste which is generated from other than hospital sources, okay, or other than in our home system, what happens is that comes under the second rule that we have for the solid waste management. So we have another set of rules which talks about municipal solid waste management 2016. In that there is a category which is home care or potential hazardous waste which is generated from institutions which are there which are apart from hospitals. So basically what has to be done is in the homes also, it is supposed to be segregated waste, that is blue and green colored waste that we generally put. And there is one more category of waste which is basically for hazardous waste, that is black category of waste. So that I'll give you an example. These blades, you got the injections that I'm talking about, the diabetic patients and all, these all should be going in a black colored container, and municipality has to hand it over to the biomedical waste management facility. This is what the rule says. Now, saying so, there is lack of implementation of rule at every level. So what we have to make sure is, as a concerned and aware citizen and guiding somebody, that if these kind of waste comes up from home and all, kindly please, it has to be packed in a properly their container or newspaper and all, and it has to be put in at least separately in a recyclable category, the blue category of the waste. So ultimately it goes to recycling agency only, but as per rule it should go into the biomedical waste facility.
thank you, ma'am.
excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
As you have said that the segregation of waste should be done here properly, but I guess there is less of like awareness about it in all the people in India also, and maybe outside abroad. I don't know about abroad, but in India, many people don't know what waste should go on which dustbin.
Right.
So, how would you suggest that we should make aware to people from that?
Absolutely. So this kind of a segregation of the waste is the first stage of the waste management. It is the most complex stage because waste management is not a issue which is very technical. I mean, see, technologies are already in place. It is more of a behavioral change issue. So when we say behavioral change, it is very difficult to attain behavioral change at a very short time. People are changing. I mean, the way that we envisage, or I envisage, that how exactly, apart from awareness, the awareness we have been talking about from very since long. With awareness, there has to be enforcement of the rules to them, having a penalty provisions of this. So this might work. Now the other option is also many places looking at, many municipalities have gone to that, but not very preferable point. But they are now not going into, or into that you have to segregate waste. Some of the technologies are there which are also treating the mixed kind of waste. I'm talking about municipal solid waste. In hospital waste, there is no way. They have to segregate. And as we know, hospitals, gharon ko, or the in the home, it is very difficult to identify who has done this. But if it is being done in a hospital, prescribed authority with the barcoding and all these tracking mechanism, they can identify which hospital segregation has not come properly, and CTFs report it to the prescribed authority. In that way, there is a penalty. There is a penalty of rule violation, and it is being done with many hospitals. I've seen places where exactly district administration has cut the water supply of the hospital because the segregation was not proper. So such kind of things are there, with requests. But I do agree with your point that awareness, we have to create awareness right from the beginning, right from the why Japan is, doesn't have these kind of problem, because such kind of system is being inculcated right in the schooling age. So we have to learn, we have to spread the awareness as much as possible, and that's how I think we plan to achieve it.
Yes, ma'am. Totally agree. Thank you, ma'am.
In fact, ma'am, what we are also planning to reach out to schools
Yes,
and educate the students as well
absolutely.
about it, young
Right.
students about this, as a part of our outreach program.
Yes, that's very important. Schools. You can also take help of having a lot of competitions with students. So basically,
Hmm.
these all give us the mind to innovate. How exactly? Some communication channels. All these. Many of you are IT, or doing into some kind of list. Work on something that how this kind of communication can be enhanced with digital media, social media, and those kind of things. So such kind of attempt could be definitely attempted.
Yes, ma'am. We are planning for the competition also in the
Last
schools.
question. Last question. Any one question? I think it was very exhaustive, so everything
Right,
was
it
covered.
was actually, I thought, I should not end it up in between, that student at least get an overview. But as I said, each and every, even the management aspect takes almost 4 to 5 hours to really discuss about it. So I try to give you an overview, but I'll suggest that please go to CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board website, see the rules will give you a good clarity on what actually biomedical waste management means. And there are resources, there are organizations whom you can really coordinate to know more.
So, Simran, can we conclude the session, please?
So, should I start?
Yes, yes, Simran, please.
As justifiably pointed out by ma'am, that when 20% of hospital infectious material is mixed with the entire 100% waste, it becomes hazardous and infectious. Hence, segregation is very necessary. I would like to express our deep thanks on the behalf of Circular Economy Study Group, BIT Lalpur campus, to our expert, Ms. Reema Banerjee ma'am, for such an amazing and informative presentation and giving us an insight on this relevant topic. I also extend my gratitude to Dr. Vandana Bhattacharjee ma'am, Director of our center, for providing us such a platform and opportunity to take this initiative of putting our efforts to make our economy waste free. My sincere thanks is directed to Dr. Ashutosh Mishra sir, who took effort to organize this event. Special acknowledgement to all my faculty members for joining this session and making this a great success. I also thank the working committee members who contributed in this event. I would also like to express my gratefulness to all the attendees for taking out time and supporting us in our mission towards circular economy. We look forward to conduct such events in future and hope Reema ma'am will join us in some more future events. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this platform to interact with the students. Interacting with student always makes me good because there are a lot of different kind of thoughts and questions which comes up, which is very important because this is still evolving subject, and it is evolved but has got a lot of opportunity, scope of further research, innovations, and all. So I wish all of you all the best, and thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thanks to
Thank you,
all
ma'am.
for attending this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am has left, sir.
Ah, so